The importance of Akuma in the Street Fighter universe cannot be understated. Since his first appearance as an ultra-secret character in Super Street Fighter II Turbo to the most recent entries, while also single-handedly sparking the birth of the Capcom vs. series being featured in X-Men Children of the Atom, Akuma, or Gouki as is known in Japan, has changed many times, and in some cases he's changed a lot, going through some weird non-canon forms and transformations that go beyond his Shin Akuma version, and even beyond his Oni form. Sometimes he's changed to the point of being almost unrecognizable, and certainly weird, and we're going to see a lot of weird stuff today. So Elation and Jubilation gamers from all around the world, I am Lucian and this is the World Gamer Show. And today I want to show you what I consider to be the weirdest forms ever of Akuma/Gouki. Just a reminder, I am consciously skipping on Shin Akuma and Oni, because I feel that they are pretty well known, with the first appearing many times and the other being a pretty recent addition to the roster. I want to comment more on the most obscure and weirdest appearances. I want to surprise you. So stick to the end of the video and let me know in the comments if I managed to succeed. So with that said, let's get right in.
Round 1. Fight!
In Japan there is this nice but weird trend that if a character gets popular, then it needs to have a chibi form, which is basically a super deformed version, vaguely similar to how the character would appear if it was a child or something like that. Considering Street Fighter and Capcom's popularity during the 90s, it's no surprise that this also happened to a bunch of characters from Capcom, including of course our Akuma. The first appearance of Chibi Akuma, along with his Chibi Street Fighting colleagues, was in Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, a nice puzzle game which can be seen as a cross between Tetris and Puyo Puyo, well, way before it actually became an official crossover. In this game you could choose among various Chibi Capcom characters with different colored block combinations. During the matches, these characters would perform various attacks for each time a player manages to break some blocks in rapid succession. This game and its Chibi characters proved to be so successful, especially in Japan, that Capcom actually released a fighting game using these very same Chibi versions and called it Super Fighter Jam Mini Mix in Japan, but released simply as a Pocket Fighter in the rest of the world. And Akuma was in the roster, of course. Even more amusingly, he's even more ridiculous than in Puzzle Fighter, because in Pocket Fighter he constantly changes clothes during his attacks, in tribute to various other Capcom characters, much like the rest of the crew in the game. He is hilarious. And his backstory also doesn't take itself seriously at all, with his island fortress being transformed into a leisure center. It really needs to be seen and played to be believed.
Round 2. Fight!
But Lucian, I hear you saying, if Akuma's first appearance was in a 16-bit title, how can there be an 8-bit version of him? Well, you'd be right, but Akuma actually appeared at least twice in 8-bit form. After all, there was a Game Boy Color port of the original Street Fighter Alpha Warrior's Dreams. That of course included Akuma, and the GBC was indeed an 8-bit machine, so watch him in all his glory. My god, these sprites are so fluid. And what's even crazier is that the proportions match very closely to that of the arcade version. Good stuff! And this wasn't even his only appearance in Big Pixels, as he also appeared on the fantastic SNK vs Capcom Match of the Millennium for the Neo Geo Pocket. Which wasn't technically an 8-bit machine, but rather a 16-bit one. It kinda looks like 8-bit. Compared to Alpha 1 on GBC, he is much more in the style of Pocket Fighter, with a super deformed Akuma. On top of that, pixelated Akuma also appeared in Pocket 03, the Pocket Station minigame that you can download from Street Fighter 03 or Alpha 3 as is known overseas, on the first PlayStation. So cute! But wait, there's more! Yes, there is yet another 8-bit incarnation of Akuma. I bet you forgot about Street Fighter Cross Mega Man. And if you didn't forget, write it down in the comments. This is a super weird fun project that somehow earned Capcom's blessing to be officially released on PC and for free. I will leave a link to download it in the description. You basically take the gameplay of the classic Mega Man series, but swap each robot boss, or Robot Masters as they are normally called in the Mega Man universe, with Street Fighter characters, and Akuma appears as a super secret boss after defeating Bison. And look at him! This is basically what you get if you combine the chibi form with the 8-bit appearance in the GBC version of Alpha 1. And be careful, because he can Raging Demon you in an instant and get a perfect out of you. Hilarious! Well, here are the 8-bit forms that Akuma took, at least these are the ones that I can recall, but there are probably a few more that I forgot to mention, so feel free to write down in the comments some other that you can remember. But for now, let's move on to the next weird Akuma's form, because we're far from over.
Round 3, fight!
If you've ever wondered what would the cross between Akuma and Terminator look like, wonder no more. This is Cyber Akuma, one of the two final bosses in Marvel Super Heroes vs Street Fighter, the second iteration in the Versus series that sees Marvel heroes go against the most iconic Capcom characters, Akuma included of course. But this time they went even beyond that. Akuma is present in the game, but apparently it wasn't enough. For such a crazy game, they needed an even crazier final boss to go hand in hand with Apocalypse. However, I'm a little bit disappointed by his backstory and personality here. In fact, he has been turned into a cyborg by Apocalypse. I was hoping it would be more something along the lines of Akuma wanting more power or something like that, because it is pretty jarring to see some of his win quotes with him being so servile in some cases, like acknowledging Apocalypse as his master. In fact, his whole appearance is pretty ridiculous, but also menacing at the same time. He can shoot a rocket punch, and God knows if I love my rocket punches. And speaking of which, he has now 6 arms, but the extra 4 are only shown in the wind pose. And occasionally, he even lets out his jet-like metal wings. Can't get crazier than that, can he? Can he?
Round 4, fight!
If you thought that Cyber Akuma was the most ridiculous form, think again. We've seen how Akuma would appear if he was half robot. How about him being 100% robot? Well, here it is, Zero Gouki. I say Gouki in this case because he appeared only in the game Cyberbot's Full Metal Madness, which was exclusively released in Japan, so there is technically no Zero Akuma in this case. Technically, this isn't really Akuma himself, but a robot modeled after him. But it still has Akuma's appearance in the end, and it sure is weird. So yes, let's make this count. More people need to know about Zero Gouki. Spread the word!
Round 5. Fight!
If you thought the last one was weird, get ready, because we're reaching the next level. Remember Street Fighter the movie? That disaster of a movie that later became guilty pleasure of many who wouldn't admit that, in the end, they enjoyed it?
That was beautiful.
Yes, that movie with Jean-Claude Van Damme as Guile and Raul Julia as Bison. Yes, that movie where Akuma wasn't in there. But then, why did I put it in this list? Well, because Capcom, in its infinite wisdom, thought it would have been nice to copy Mortal Kombat and have a fighting game with digitized actors, but using the actors from the movie. Reaching a whole new level of inception in Street Fighter, the movie, the game. Or even better, as it is known in Japan, Street Fighter, real battle on film. Anyway, when the developers of the arcade version heard that there was going to be a new super secret character in Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, they wanted in too, and thought it would be nice to include Akuma in the roster, even if he didn't appear in the movie, like, at all. Ernie Reyes Sr. was the martial artist actor who portrayed the character. And not to disrespect the work done by Mr. Reyes, but Akuma works well because he's an exaggerated character. So the fact that they actually tried to portray him live action with those hair, well, we've reached a new level of ridiculousness. Again, I mean no disrespect to Mr. Reyes. He did his best and he's an excellent martial artist. And I have to say, given the circumstances, I think things went the best they could. In my opinion, Akuma simply shouldn't have been included in the movie. I mean, the game. I mean, the game of the movie of the game. Well, anyway, at least it's worth a laugh. So there you have it, the weirdest form and shapes that Akuma has ever taken. Did you know them all? Which one is your favorite? Did I miss anything? Do you know of any other peculiar incarnation of Akuma that stands out? Let me know in the comment section down below. I also want to thank you very much for seeing this video to the end. If you enjoyed it, maybe subscribe, share or leave a like if you feel like doing it. No pressure at all. I will see you in my future videos, but until then, stay safe, play safe, world gamers.